We know you've been waiting for this, and it's finally coming.
Gosh, that's right around my birthday. I love Wicked so much. I'm gonna go get tickets. Wait. 0 theaters? Oh no! People of the world, my name's Natalie, and if you know nothing else about me, you need to know that I love Wicked. Probably a little too much. I have had this shirt since I was 12 years old and wore it to my high school orientation, so that says pretty much all you would need to know. Me, like most other Wicked fans, have been very excited for the new upcoming Wicked for Good. But I don't know if I'm as excited as everyone else. And I'm gonna really talk about why in this video, mainly for 3 main reasons. First, the marketing. Then I'm gonna talk a little bit about the costumes and why I'm not entirely sure if they're going to fit with the story. And then finally, I'm gonna talk about the actual story, because one thing about Wicked is things happen really, really fast and not always in the best way. So I'm very excited to jump right into it. Also, I'm gonna try to make this video really fast. I love to talk. I actually wrote my final paper for my History of Communications class about the Wicked movie and how it connects to the ancient Greek Sophis. That was way too many pages of me doing a lot of research, so I could talk about Wicked all day, and I'm really kind of bolstering now. But I'm gonna try to make this as quick as possible, get my points across, and then get us having some awesome online discourse. Also, quick disclaimer, I'm going to put a spoiler warning on this certain parts of my video that include spoilers, but this part isn't going to, and if I do, I'm gonna have like a little timestamp so you can jump to a spoiler-free part. But right now I'm just gonna talk about the poster. So that's me digitally editing the poster here. Okay, so me, like a lot of other fans, when I first saw this, I thought it was a fan edit. Not necessarily that fan edits are bad, because there are some amazing fan edits out there. I was just confused more than anything. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not amazalocious. Sorry, sounds like a wicked word. Anyway, let's start with the positives. I like how there's a W in the middle made out of rocks. If you forget what movie poster this is for and you see a W, you might remember that it's for Wicked. So that's a good thing. Now let's talk about the things I'm not entirely sure about. So let's talk about the composition first. Now, I am no expert, but in one of my journalism classes, as well as I've taken a video production class, we've learned about a lot of the rules of composition for photos, one of which being the rule of thirds. So essentially, if you were to make this into a grid, put the lines like that, like lines go, if you were to put lines, you'd want the main focuses of each of the main points to be on a line or on an intersection to draw more attention. Or you'd want something really important to be focused in the middle. So while this works the way the two Glinda and Elphaba are positioned across from each other, it does work with like the lines in the theories leading to things important. It's not the most focused. They're just kind of off to the side. And in the middle, you see the text and the title of the movie, but it's not drawing your attention to anything specific. If you look in the very middle and the bottom, you'll see the castle with all the flying monkeys, but that's not really grabbing your attention. There's nothing specific that makes you want to draw your eye to it and be this beautiful work of art. Also with the poster, this is gonna be like some SAT math problem type thing, but let's look at the size of the figures. I've seen that talked a lot about online. So I'll put in like, let's say the cliffs are like, I don't know, 100 feet. I don't think that Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are that big. They're both like around 5 foot. So when we're looking at from a compositional standpoint as well as kind of a logical standpoint, it doesn't necessarily hold ground. I'm not going to talk about it too much more. If you have any thoughts about the poster, feel free to let me know. My opinion is I don't really like it, but also there was clearly approved by a team. That team is really awesome. They get paid way more than me. So we can stop talking about the poster now. But if we focus our attention on the poster to Ariana Grande, that'll bring me to my next point. Let's talk about Glinda's costume and why I'm not sold on it. I couldn't be happier to talk about this section, because now we get to talk about Thank Goodness. I promise I'm not gonna sing anymore. So this is where we'll get into like my spoiler-y section, especially for the plot of Wicked Act 2 of the musical. So if you don't want anything spoiled, then please flip to this timestamp. 3, 2, 1. Everyone dies! Oh no! Well, I mean, Nessa does. I'm kind of excited for that, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, from the leaked set images, I can imagine that this picture from the poster is from Thank Goodness, and just kind of the beginning of Act 2, because we can see one picture from the set of Fiyero and Glinda in their outfits. Fiero's in his Captain of the Guards outfit, and then Ariana Grande as Glinda is in this dress. Now, I like it, and before I say anything else, Paul Townswell is an amazing costume designer. He deserved the Oscar. The costumes for a musical he designed, Death Becomes Her, are just really cool. So he is an amazing costume designer, but I don't know if I think it fits, but let's backtrack. What am I talking about? So in Act 2 of the musical, it starts with the song Thank Goodness, and it's basically all of this is happening. It starts with talking about the propaganda that the wizard is spreading, and then really cuts to Glinda and her being so happy with Fiyero. They're announcing an engagement, really trying to get the people's attention away from the Wicked Witch of the West. And this number, I think, is one of my favorites in the show. I don't know if that's a popular opinion to have, but I think it's so layered and so dynamic, because you can really see in a lot of portrayals of Glinda that she is kind of fighting these layers, and she's trying to put on this good face that she's now a public figure, but she's also mourning her friend, which you'll see it, no one mourns the wicked. So let's talk about why I like this dress. So first, I think it is really cool. I think it's a nod to the original Broadway musical dress with the blue, and also it's very gorgeous. Honestly, that ball gown reminds me of the No One Mourns the Wicked dress. Beautiful, very Glinda from The Wizard of Oz. Sorry, I have a script here. If I don't have a script, then I will talk forever. But now let's get to kind of why I'm a little bit apprehensive about this dress, if it is for Thank Goodness, because it might not be. This could all just be made up. But I'm going to show you the original Thank Goodness costume. And again, I'm probably biased because it's one of my favorite numbers in the show and my favorite costumes, and it's green because she's representing the Emerald City. But in my personal interpretation of this costume is it's not really complete. You'll see one side of it is very long, very professional, kind of like if she were to go like this, she'd have a very kind of, I don't want to say capital, it's not the Hunger Games, a very like Emerald City professional kind of look with her little hat. And the other side is very her. It's got like a sparkle glove, it doesn't have a sleeve, and it's kind of half and half, representing that Glinda is very torn in the situation. But she's wearing green, she's representing the Emerald City, and trying to be as professional as possible. Now I can see the ball gown being kind of her, kind of like No One Mourns the Wicked being a public figure, but I think this outfit particularly shows that she is representing the Emerald City, and she is having that portrayal. So I'll put in a clip, if I can, from the slime tutorial of some of my favorite Glindas really selling this number.
Do you think I like living the same talking to that right
I love it doing here. Let's go. Let's get out of here.
I can't leave now. Not when people are looking to me to raise their spirits.
You can't leave because you can't resist this. And that is the truth.
Maybe I can't. Is that so wrong? Good.
No one could.
But she's really trying to play a part. I realized in that clip I never talked about Elphaba's costumes. I think they look awesome. Like, I've seen a lot of Elphabas have this idea that in Act 1, Elphaba is portrayed as basically a child. Like, she's a very young girl, very innocent. She has her like frock just coming into shiz. And then Act 2 is when she, I don't want to say becomes a woman, but she really gains this power. And I think these costumes that we've seen of her are just awesome. Ran out of storage as soon as that last clip was over. I know, my dog just sighed at me. But welcome back, everyone who didn't watch that last section. So this is really going to talk about some of my predictions. So Wicked Act 2 is really what connects Wicked the musical to the Broadway show. I did start to read the book when I was 12, and I brought them into my state testing, and then I realized I should not have been reading the book because it was very inappropriate. So I'm not going to talk about Wicked the book today, but just Wicked the musical and The Wizard of Oz. So we've already gotten clips that we will see Wizard of Oz characters from that first trailer, but I'm not going to talk about kind of how they connect because that does kind of get into spoiler territory, but I'm curious what they're going to add, because as I talked about previously, Wicked moves very fast, but part 1 of the movie was pretty much the same length as the entire musical, and in my opinion, they didn't really add all that much. They added backstory, so we know Elphaba was bullied, which we probably could have guessed, but we got to see baby Nessarose, and baby Nessarose is awesome, but I don't know if they added anything that important. So my fear for Wicked Act 2 is we're gonna add like fluff that isn't actually story related that might kind of drag things on, but I'm not sure. I am very curious to see what they do about kind of the time jump. So basically Wicked Act 1 happens, Defying Gravity happens, and then there's a little bit of like passage of time before Act 2. That's when kind of Glinda is acknowledging a lot of things as she's kind of like acknowledging that there's change, and thank goodness. But I wonder if they're going to explain kind of moments right after Defying Gravity, if they're going to show Madame Morrible taking and the wizard taking Glinda in, if they're just going to jump kind of like they do in the musical, because they're two very different mediums. And I feel like in musicals it's more common to have time jumps, whereas although there's been a wait in between each movie, a lot of movie audiences might not be adapted to that. I also know for a fact, I've seen interviews where John M. Chu is planning on changing Nessarose's ending, so I'm not going to spoil that, but I'm very curious to see what that's going to look like, because Nessarose's ending is really what motivates Elphaba as a character to kind of finish out the rest of the story. It'll all make sense once you actually see it, but I am just very curious. I'm going to keep an open mind. I didn't think it was going to be that good at first because of all of these thoughts, but at the end of the day, I'm a theater kid. That's really lame, but I just love Wicked. I love the story. I love the music. I just think it's a lot of fun. So I'm keeping an open mind for theaters in November. So now I want to know what your thoughts are. Are you excited for Wicked? Do you love the poster? Do you hate the poster? Feel free to comment down below because I feel like I have talked way too much and I want to hear your thoughts. If you're still here, then you should definitely check out my last video. I did a beauty pageant. That's pretty awesome. And if you're still here again, you should subscribe to my channel. I think I have 25 subscribers and they're all my favorite people. So if you want to be one of my favorite people, smash that subscribe button. Also, whoa. Also, hit the like, ring the bell, and follow me on social media. I'll put my Instagram here, and I think that's pretty much everything. I'm planning on uploading more frequently starting from now on, so maybe you'll be seeing my face a lot more. And yeah, so kisses! Have the best day ever! Bye!